Ladies and gentlemen, the Queen of Halloween. Wow. So, Cassandra, welcome.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for coming too, you guys.
How's Boston treating you?
Oh, awesome. Good food here.
Yeah, you like the lobster?
Huh?
You like the lobster?
I haven't had, well, actually I had lobster roll.
Oh my.
That was pretty awesome.
So we were talking yesterday a little bit on our ride over, which by the way was a really cool thing. Did anybody get a chance to see her in her full regalia yesterday?
No.
How about that? That is amazing. That was absolutely a thrill. And
For you.
Yeah, it was kind of warm. The air conditioning system wasn't working real well yesterday, so I had to get a fan. Yeah. It's a little bit better in here and all that. But we were riding over, and she was telling me this little story about Kiss. They kind of wear a little bit of, they dress up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
What was happening with that parade?
Which parade?
Yeah, the parade with Kiss. You were talking about Gene Simmons and his comment about that.
Yeah. That was a fun experience. I was in New York City for that big Halloween parade that they have there on Halloween, and it was a few years ago, but it was like midnight. We're waiting for the floats to go and Kiss is in front of me on the float in front, and we're just standing around freezing to death. And finally, we all went into a trailer they had there for us. And so I sat there with Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. They were the only two from Kiss, but they were in their full Kiss drag. And I'm in my Elvira drag. And we're sitting in the things, waiting. And we're just we're talking for a while, and then we're just staring at each other. And Gene finally looks over and goes, "How the hell long are we going to get into this drag?" I mean, it was just kind of pathetic. I don't know, 3 grown adults still wearing Kiss outfits and Elvira outfits, I don't know. It was weird. But it was kind of like a moment that you don't get that often, you know what I mean? So, you have to be there, I guess. But.
A lot of you might be familiar with Cassandra is absolutely amazing. I was a corporate trainer for 23 years with Bose Corporation. So everything that I ever did was either scripted or when I'm doing new product presentations for a worldwide audience, I had to know what I was going to say. Now Cassandra comes from a background of the groundlings. I read something that said it was just like, how do you get prepared not knowing what you're going to do?
It's funny. I just recently did the Groundlings, a reunion show with the Groundlings. We had not all, but several people from the 70s, which that's when I was there.
Lorraine Newman, wasn't Lorraine?
And then we had Lorraine Newman was there, and then we had the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and so they said, "Would you be part of this show?" And we're going to do improv, like we used to do. Lorraine Newman and several people are going to be there too, and so I said, "Sure." It's for a fundraiser to raise money for a new Groundling school. And then I get this thing, we're going to rehearse every Saturday for the next 4 weeks. And I'm like, rehearse? It's improv. Oh my God. I was like, I have to drive in town and do this. And it turned out it was the best thing I ever did, because there are rules for improv. Even though we completely improvised on the day that we did it, there are many, many rules. And after, 30, 40 years, you forget what those rules are. So the fact that we got to kind of play around and do different improvs for 4 weeks was a lifesaver. The show turned out really, really funny, and everybody was happy. And I can't imagine having walked in there after all those years and just, I mean, I can still do it. I improvise all the time, but in a group improvisation, it's different when you've got, 10 people working together and you're all trying not to talk over each other and trying to move a story along, So there's quite a bit that goes into just improvising, There's a lot of years of study, and most of the Groundlings now that are in the Groundlings coming out of there, like Melissa McCarthy and Farrell, what's his name? Will Ferrell, hello. People like that have an average of 8 years in the Groundlings. I mean,
8 years?
8 years, that's their average.
Wow.
That's about how long it takes to get in the Groundlings. In the 70s, I paid the $35 and I was in the Groundlings. I was in it back when they let anybody in. But I was in it with Phil Hartman and Paul Rubens, who's Pee Wee, and Lorraine Newman, and then later on came, John Lovitz and Julia Sweeney from Saturday Night Live, and it was a great group, and they still churn out, famous actors and writers like pancakes over there. Do people churn out pancakes? I don't know.
Yeah, because you get the batter, you pour it in. It's all good. Yeah, I was thinking about when we were talking a little bit about Paul Rubens, Pee Wee, and that's great because I remember you being in the bar scene. If I'm not right, weren't you?
I was the motorcycle mama.
Motorcycle mama.
And I got to do every girl's dream, beat up Pee Wee. Isn't that fun? And I got paid for it.
So are you guys still tight?
We are very tight. We hang out a lot and see each other and speak very often. I just went to see, by the way, his I went on the set and watched him shoot, and then I went to see a rough cut of his new film. You guys are gonna love it. It's called Pee Wee's Big Holiday. It's gonna be on Netflix, coming out just in a month or two, and it is funny. I mean, it's gonna give the first one a run for its money. I really truly think it's hilarious, and he looks great, and he's hysterical. So keep your eye out for that.
So I heard your interview with Mistress Carey on local station WAAF, and mentioned they didn't have a little piece for you in the movie.
No, I mean, it was very sweet. Paul called me in and had me audition for a couple parts, and they just weren't really right for it. I was kind of too young for one part and too old for another part. So there wasn't really a part that was kind of right up my alley there, so to speak. Well, so he did try, and I appreciate him trying to get us in. And a lot of the other groundlings were kind of complaining about not being in it too. So, it's tough when you have a movie. You can't get. I've gone through casting in my films, and the first one I put as many groundlings in there as I could get. I wanted to put a lot more in, and the ones I didn't put in are still pissed off at me to this day. It's crazy, but you can't put somebody in where there's no part that they're right for. So, it's tough, and I think he made a valiant effort to get me in there, but it didn't work out. I hold no hard feelings toward him.
I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan of both of you guys. So it's great.
It's funny. Paul and I think we connect so much because. We are two of the only people that I know of in show business, other than Kiss maybe, who own their character. It's not owned by a television station or a studio. We both developed our characters at the very same time. And so we have so much in common to talk about, and he and I, in general, we can go out anywhere together when we're looking normal and not get bothered by people, not have anybody ask for a picture, an autograph, and that's not, believe it or not, it doesn't sound like it's fun, but it is fun. After a while, you're kind of over the fame part, It's fun for a week or two, and then you're like, oh my God, give me a life back, So Paul and I can go to places together and hang out, and it's really fun. And then when people discover he's Pee Wee, which they usually do before they know it, and he'll go, guess who my girlfriend is? Elvira. And then they'll go, oh God, Pee Wee and Elvira. And they really flip out. It's funny. We actually ran into that guy, The Rock.
Yeah, Dwayne Johnson.
Dwayne Johnson. And we were like, Pee Wee, oh, hello, Mr. Johnson. Good to meet you. And he was like, he was really kind of had an attitude. And when he found out who he was jumping up and down like a little girl.
I didn't realize you were
He was. He's like, oh my God, he was freaking out. So it was fun like that. But he and I have a lot to talk about. You know what I mean? We have a lot of stories to swap because we're in the same, kind of the same mold.
Yeah, kind of that same school.
Yeah. And we've been friends for years.
Like 5 years, something like that.
Yeah, about 5 years.
How about projects? Is there anything particular that you're working on?
I do. I have 2 long-term projects I've been working on, and they're coming along. They're slow. One is an animated project for TV, like an Adult Swim sort of Elvira cartoon.
Perfect.
Yeah,
wow.
And who knows if or when that'll ever be out.
Would you voice it?
Yes, I would. Absolutely.
Oh, fantastic.
Oh, I love doing the voiceover. Oh, God. I love voiceover work. You don't have to look good. Awesome work. Yeah.
Stop.
God. I actually do some voiceover work on Ninja Turtles. I have a character called Mrs. McDonald, who's an evil robot on a TV show, and do a few other television, cartoon things once in a while. But what the hell was I saying? Oh yeah, I'm also working on an autobiography that's taking me like 150 years to write because I have too much stuff to put in it. It's going to be like the size of the Bible.
She has a lot of stories.
I have a lot of stories. I can't stop. That's why this autobiography never gets done. I think I'm up to when I was 2 years old. I'm working on it 15 years.
Well, I think in Mistress of the Dark, I remember seeing you as a baby in that.
Yes, I was very young when I did that.
Yeah, very
film.
young when you did that particular part.
But those are my long-term projects that I'm working on, and then I have a lot of things coming out this October, and I'm unfortunately, and this is true, I'm not just, oh yeah, I have tons of stuff coming out, but I can't tell you. Honestly, I'm obligated not to talk about them until they are released. I sign a contract and
NDS.
the non-disclosure, and I'm waiting. So I'll be around on television and doing live appearances, and also some awesome new products I have coming out.
I would imagine there's probably a place that folks can go to find out about that kind
There
of
is Elvira.com.
Elvira.com.
It's really hard to remember, but easy to type.
Is everyone going to
Even
remember
with one
that?
hand. Just saying.
Now we said that we were going to be no holds barred with questions. So one other thing, I was trolling the internet. Well, I was kind of just looking for cartoon content or something like that. It was YouTube. No, I came across your TV show. I swear I didn't know this existed. And I see you, Catherine Hellman. I see a talking cat.
Yeah.
Are you guys familiar with this?
Yes.
Wow, you're huge fans, and I was oblivious.
Oh, it's called The Elvira Show. Clever name, right? But yeah, it was a bummer. It was a pilot that we did for CBS, and this sounds like a very bitter, I'm very bitter over this, but it came out, it was the big hit, Fox, everybody said this pilot's gonna go no matter what. I was like the queen of the studio over there at Fox for a while. I was like, oh, this show is amazing. And the president of Fox got sick the week that they picked the pilots for the year.
Yeah.
He was out, Jeff Sagansky, and they brought in a guy, Howard Stein, I think, and he was from New York, and he was the sports commentator. He ran the sports division of CBS. And he came in and picked the shows. And when he saw me, he goes, who's the chick with the big boobs? We can't put that on CBS. And that was the end of the show. Boom, boom, just like that. Yeah, so it never got made. Oh.
And therefore is why I used the term that I did, because I kind of knew that I read a little bit about the story. And yeah.
Yeah, and then the next thing, just about less than a year later, there was Sabrina, the Teenage Witch, was exactly like my show, except younger.
Interesting.
Super bummer. But it was a great show. And a funny thing is, I cast this girl to play my niece, a young girl, and I had two girls that I really wanted, and it was really hard to decide. So finally I cast one of them, and I was apologizing to the other one. And the other one became Hilary Swank. So I really know how to pick them, right? Who I ran into later, many years, at my gym. This was really great. My trainer, I'm with my trainer at the gym, and I see her, and I recognize her from when I was doing casting. And I remembered her first name only. I remember she was Hillary, and she comes up and goes, "Hi, Cassandra, it's Hillary. Remember I auditioned for your TV show?" And I go, "Oh my God, yeah, you were fantastic. I hope you stayed in show business. You were so great. What are you doing now?" And she goes, "Well, I just won the Academy Award." And I was like, oh my God. I mean, I just didn't put two and two together. It was so embarrassing. I think my trainer left and never spoke to me again. But and another thing I did like that, I really know how to pick actors. I gotta say, I'm fantastic. Auditioning for Mistress of the Dark, for the lead teenager, was Brad Pitt. But I did not pick Brad Pitt because I didn't think he had any talent. I thought his career just wasn't going to happen. No, I actually, the reason I didn't pick him was because he was so damn cute that I was like, if he was the teenager, I would not be with Bob, the other guy. There's no way. I'd be hitting on this kid all the time. So I wrote in my notes, I still have my notes of all the notes I wrote, like, oh, good actor, blah, blah, blah. On Brad's thing, I wrote yum, yum. But, so it wasn't a bad thing. But when I met Brad years later, he actually bought my house. I told him, Brad, I am single-handedly responsible for saving your career. If you would have been in Elvira Undressed, you'd never work again. So anyway.
All right. So here's what we're gonna do. Just some very simple ground rules. This is just ask Cassandra questions that you're thinking about most. The question you desire.
Oh, I know what
to
they're thinking
ask.
about most. Yes, they're real. Thank
Yes.
you.
All right, we're done. So everybody, thanks. There we go. So, but what I'm going to need you to do is just very kindly and graciously line up. If you could queue up behind the microphone, the front microphone right in the middle there, and we'll take people one by one. You can just come right up to the mic, and you can be a celebrity for a moment here. Get that question
Feel free
out.
to ask anything you
Anything you want. But like I said, if we could just single file, just get on behind the mic, and we'll go through. We'll try to get through everybody in the amount of time that we have left. And we're going there. And we can go ahead and start with our first young lady. What question do you have for Cassandra?
Hi there.
Oh, I got
Is that better?
Hi.
Hi. It's so awesome to see you again in Boston.
Thank you.
I saw you when you came with Elvira's Haunted Hills.
Wow, that is the last time you're right.
Yeah, it was a lot
I
of
said
fun.
I haven't been to Boston for years.
So what I really wanted to ask about was about your experiences as a woman in the horror industry. I'm starting a new horror project with an all-women team, and we're talking a lot about women in the industry, women in the community.
Yeah, well, it's fantastic. I've got to tell you, when I started out being Elvira, there weren't even conventions like this, number one. There were car shows that we went to once in a while. It was so odd. And I remember going to Comic-Con in San Diego when it was in the basement of a hotel. And I swear I was the only girl, There were just no women walking around out there. There were guys in little packs of 2s and 3s. And, it was strictly comics back then. Really, really based about comics. And luckily I had a Marvel comic book, later a DC comic book, and then later Claypool for many years. But I was like the only female. And then later I started going to, I think Chiller was the very first one I ever heard of or went to. And it was in New Jersey, and I even think then it was mostly wrestlers, heavy metal guys, and me. It was really odd. But when they started getting a little more horror-oriented, there just weren't any women involved, unless they were the victim of the horror movie, unless they were the actress who was killed off in some horror movie. And over the years, it has just grown and grown and grown. Women are getting into the whole genre. They're getting into the comic book thing. They're getting into the, producing, directing, writing, and starring in horror movies. And it's just building and building and building. And I'm so happy now to see, at these cons, definitely as many women as men, and they're interested in, and they're interested in producing this stuff too. It's not just the men's guys club anymore. Definitely females. So I say, girls rule.
One more thing, I'm going to kill me. I think that you opened the door up to this, talking about the fact that they are real. What's the technology under there? What's holding you back? We know that looks good.
It's a secret. No, it's just a major. A lot of metal inside it.
It's not real comfortable, right?
Pushes them so far up they can't go down. I can even stand on my head and they don't go anywhere. They're just there forever. This is an amazing bra. I always say I'm going to market this bra. It's really incredible. I found it in 1981 at some stripper's lingerie store. I can't remember her name now. And she went out of business a year or two after that. And I went in and bought every single bra they had at the factory. So I would boxes of hundreds of these bras. They're kind of rotting now. They're falling apart. But I bought them out everywhere. So yeah, that's kind of a secret. Just major push-up.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. Call it my industrial strength bra.
Sorry. So I have a question for you. You have been working hard for so many years, and you still look absolutely incredible and fabulous. know, it sounds like you have like a weight trainer. Like, what do you do to keep in shape and keep yourself just looking great and looking like you're just incredibly healthy and beautiful?
Thank you. I do nothing. It's magic. No, I do take care of myself. I was a vegetarian for many, many years. I'm sad to say I kind of slipped off the wagon, probably due to traveling so much. And you could only eat so many Taco Bell bean burritos, until you finally, slit your wrist. But I do eat very consciously. I really eat a mainly vegetarian diet, and when I eat meat, I get it from as local as I can and as humanely raised and healthy as possible. And I don't eat it very often. And I do work out every single day, 7 days a week. Not always strenuously, but I do walk and run, and I do running like every day, and then I do yoga a couple times a week. So I just have to do something every day, or I just would not be able to stay in that damn dress. The dress keeps me in it, because I'm happy to say I've never changed the size of the dress since I started. It's been the very same pattern I've never done. Except the time I was pregnant. I went from then back then I was 21-inch waist, and I went about 49-inch waist. No, but yeah, the waist, I must not lie, the waist has increased slightly, but the rest of the dress has stayed the same. So I always know when I'm like putting on a little weight. I put on the dress and like no one can zip it. So I'm like, gotta train more, gotta eat less. So that's basically it. Healthy eating, drink a little wine. Hello.
Like my doctor says,
Thanks.
diet and exercise, and you can tell
Yeah,
I
that's
listen.
This is my daughter Cassandra.
Oh,
And she wanted to ask you a question, so I'm going to look her
wow.
up so she can
I have 2 people today named after me, whose dads named them after me. So I was happy to hear that. I hope she's the 3rd one. My dad named me after his girlfriend.
What's your favorite part of a movie that you did and a part of?
I think it would be Elvira, Mistress of the Dark, which was my favorite movie. For me, I had so much fun doing it because we had a huge budget and I got to write it, and it was super, super fun. And my favorite part was writing it. But being in the movie, let's see, my favorite part, what's my favorite part? I think my favorite part in it is really wacky. It's the game show thing when the lawyer asked me about, my aunt's, what she's going to be giving me, and I'm like, jumping up and down, and it turns into a fantasy in my head of a game show, and I'm hopping up and down, going, big bucks, big bucks.
Let's tell Elvira what she's won.
Yeah, exactly. I just cracked myself up. We have to keep shooting it because I kept laughing. But I loved the part where it came in and I was like, oh, Uncle Ramus and Auntie Em, there's no place like home, there's no place like home. I just thought it was a very Elvira thing where she just mixes everything up in her head and doesn't know anything about anything, So I don't know, that scene was super fun for me to do, although the whole movie was fun to do. Except for the end thing, the Vegas thing. I had the flu really bad, and I think I had 105 temperature when I did that whole Vegas number, and I could barely get through it. I'm amazed still that it came out, and I almost died.
So she wanted me to tell you that she wants to be an actress someday.
Oh,
Ask what?
she wants to be an actress someday.
Oh, that's awesome. You absolutely should be. You just make up a character. I'll tell you how to do the character thing, okay? This is what I tell everybody. If you want to make a unique character, I didn't purposely do this. It got foisted on me. But they told me about being a horror hostess. And I'm like, okay, I would have gone, oh, come in, darling, drink a glass of blood. But then they said, we want you to be this character that you are in The Groundlings, which was this kind of ditzy Valley Girl actress. And I said, you want me to dress like this, but you want me to act like that? This doesn't make any sense. And they go, yeah, we know, but that's what we want. And so you put one from column A and one from column B, you put them together, they make a very unique character. So that's probably, you may not understand that now, but your mom can explain it to you. But be an actress, and you're gonna have to end up in LA. Unfortunately, that's where you gotta go to be an actress. So someday when you grow up, come on out, you can stay at my house. Okay?
Can I stay too?
Thanks. No.
Okay, moving right along.
My name is Michael. As you can tell, I'm one of your biggest fans. First, I'm sorry I didn't name my daughter after you. I named her after Rhiannon in the Fleetwood Mac song.
Good choice, good
That's the
choice.
question, but I'm a big Tim Burton fan, and I loved you and Pee Wee Herman. How was it for working with Tim Burton? Did you know him?
Yeah, and I've seen him. I just went with him to the premiere of Frankenweenie. One was a couple years ago now, probably.
I'm a cartoonist, so of course he will like. But I've been a fan of yours since you started.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, Tim is
My wife
awesome.
gets
I
mad at
love
me every
him.
time. It's like, well, Elvira. It's like,
Oh, thank you.
I've been married for 25 years, so.
Oh, good. Okay. Just
So you're safe.
Yeah, no, the funny thing about
And-
Tim
I'm
was
sorry,
that.
the other one was, I'm sorry I'm a guy, but
Oh, you're sorry you're a guy?
sorry I'm a guy, and I,
Me
I
too.
love you.
Anyway, a funny story about Tim, though, was when Pee Wee was casting his movie and doing his movie, I was doing mine at the same time. And I found this new young director. I saw just a short called Vincent that he had done, and then
Oh,
I saw the
yes.
short that he did called Frankenweenie, and I'm going, this guy is amazing, I want to use him. And at the very same time, Pee Wee found out about him, and he wanted to use him, and we went back and forth kind of fighting over this new young, director nobody had ever heard of. And Pee Wee won because he had more money than me, because he was with Warner Brothers,
Right.
and I was with NBC, which was a television station. And so he got Tim Burton, for the first live action film, and I say, wow, I'm jealous. I'm never going to get over that.
But thank you for all your years of entertaining
You're welcome.
us.
Thank you.
Just
Thanks
not
for
you,
being
but
a fan.
us. You're welcome.
All right, next.
Hello again.
Hi.
Hi.
All about evil.
Yep. You kind of already answered my question with the little girl, but it's more about the personality than the look. I mean, I think you're very beautiful, and the Elvira costume is very alluring. I mean, if I was a guy, I'd probably want to look like Elvira. Or if I was a girl, I'd probably want to look like Elvira. But I think what's more intriguing about the character is actually the personality, and like you kind of are able to play off of this. I don't hope it's not offensive, but like bitchy but dumb, but kind of coy character, and I just was curious like how maybe you came about with that. You kind of already explained it, but if you had any more insight.
Yeah, the character's odd. I don't know kind of what happened with it. It just sort of went that way. I think I finally realized that Elvira is really me when I was a teenager. Just, how teenagers are sometimes, folks? Kind of smart ass, know everything, not afraid of anything,
Oh, yeah.
just, do whatever they feel like and forget everyone else, kind of that attitude. And I think Elvira's sort of like a very old teenager. She still never grew up out of like being a teenager, and I think that's kind of how it is. And she also seems tough, but she's got a vulnerability there that still stays, and I think that's what makes her likable to people. Because I sort of say she's like the hooker with the heart of gold, She's not a hooker, but, she's got that tough exterior with a kind of soft spot. And I think that's the part that appeals to people. And also she doesn't take any crap from guys,
Yeah, I think that's true, because
yeah.
when I watch the character, or if this sounds really dumb, but if ever I'm in a bad mood, I'm just like, well, if I wouldn't take that crap. I feel like you kind of give people, or at least people like me, like motivation to do what they want, and kind of give me self-esteem, which is cool.
Yeah, thank you. And I think it's strangely become kind of I have a lot of girls tell me anyway, and women, that she's become kind of a role model, which is kind of a sick idea. But that she is kind of tough and sexy at the same time, and that just because you look sexy and wear a lot of makeup or look like that, you don't have to be a bimbo. Which before that on television, mostly women who were attractive or like bimbos, and you don't have to look like Margaret Thatcher just because you're a strong woman. You can be sexy and strong at the same time.
Yeah, I love that. And
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, Margaret Thatcher.
I was just going to say, and as a gay man, I mean, you remind me very much of a drag queen, Jesus Christ, and I think that's an awesome thing.
Thank you. And you're wearing a T-shirt, by the way, if you guys haven't seen it, called All About Evil, that a good friend of mine who plays a drag queen named Peaches Christ made, and it's an awesome horror movie. I'm in it, Mink Stoll is in it, Thomas Dekker,
Yeah.
a lot of really great people. I can't think of everybody now, but it was a super fun, super low budget movie. But it's awesome if you get a chance. Oh, what's her name? What's from
Natasha Lyonne.
Who?
Natasha Lyonne.
Exactly, Natasha Lyonne, who's on Orange Is the New Black. She's a star in it. But it's a pretty interesting, campy. I feel like it's kind of John Waters meets Herschel Gordon Lewis.
Yeah.
Kind of a mashup.
Yeah, if they're a fan of Elvira and horror movies,
Yeah.
they'll
So
like
if you see it around, All About Evil, it's an awesome, kind of grisly but funny movie.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you for the questions.
We've got about 10 minutes or so. So
Okay, I'll have to make my answers brief.
Oh, that's okay. Take it.
Yes.
My name is James, and I was wondering about your opinion on the state of or lack thereof of horror hosting on television today, and how it could possibly be resurrected.
Oh, well, good question. It's kind of sad. I mean, for a while after, let's say in the 90s, late 90s, I thought that horror hosting was dead and gone for good. I really thought it was over because the syndication market kind of disappeared. The independent stations kind of disappeared. They were kind of all gobbled up. And the films became really hard to get because they were all bought by big studios like Universal and what have you. So I couldn't go out and get these really cheap bad films anymore. They were in a library, and if you bought one, you'd have to take like 24 other movies you didn't need. So it just became impossible to get the movies. But I am happy to say that kind of the internet kind of resurrected the horror host. And if you go on the internet, there are some awesome horror hosts on there. That you can find. You have to kind of search for them, but they're kind of back, and I'm meeting a lot of new upcoming horror hosts. So yeah, the trouble is getting the movies, but I'm happy to say horror hosting's not wiped off the map because it was an integral part of my growing up and of a lot of people's growing up, and so it'd be sad to see that whole thing just be gone.
And can I add to that a little bit too? Is that when you think about that and using the internet, Hulu for example, with 13 Nights of Elvira.
Yes, that's my TV show.
Yeah,
if
the
you
full moon
check it out on
movies.
Hulu. Yeah, we got the movies that I got. Thank God, I got those from what's his name that did Puppet Master.
Charles
Charles
Dance.
Dance.
Is it Dan?
My brain is not working
Well,
anymore.
Charles Band's the founder of Full Moon.
Yep, Full Moon Productions, and oh my God, he would kill me if I couldn't remember his name. But anyway, I got this movie. We got all the movies from one person, and except one movie, Hideous, which we got from someone else. But anyway, so that was really a luck out to get those. That's why I was able to do it for Hulu last year. Hulu asked me to do it again this year. Couldn't get the movies.
Oh wow.
It's a bummer.
Boo.
Thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Okay, make it quick. What was your favorite horror movie to host?
Oh my God, I had so many zillions. Good Lord. Everybody always liked Attack of the Killer Tomatoes. Everybody always said, oh, I remember that one, which was a really hilarious movie and I loved it. But hard to host because it was, it had all the jokes already in the movie, you know? I mean, there's only so many jokes you can make about ketchup and, you know. So that was a tough one, but favorite is really hard to say because there was a zillion that I really love.
Make it favorites.
Pick a favorite?
Or anyone.
Anyone.
Or top 10.
Huh?
Top 10.
Okay,
We might
Legacy
not have
of
enough
maybe,
time.
how about Legacy of Blood? I mean, that was a great one. I just remember one line from there. It was, "This is my legacy, and this is my other legacy." Okay, so that's
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so I was here on Friday and I couldn't really speak to you. It was like shell shock, kind of,
You got a restraining
fan.
order.
You have a microphone now.
I was fanboying out. So most of the questions were already asked, so I had to come up with something here. Of all the years that you've done it, the couple of years that you've done it, are there any projects that you wanted to get off the ground that you couldn't get
Oh,
to
man.
go? Something that like you really thought would, you know,
Yeah,
be a really good thing,
about
but you
100.
didn't.
One being that television show. And I've been out, pitching and selling TV shows and movies for years and years. And, and I mean, I think if you talk to anybody in the business, you can have a dozen projects and you're lucky to get one out. So there were many projects. I have about 100 scripts at home that I'm finally going to shred of a film that I wrote called Elvira versus the Lesbian Vampires from Outer Space. Yeah, so I'm just shredding those now. And just shredding them will take me about 100 years. But that was one project, and several other different movie projects and different television projects that just, couldn't find a market for. So you take them out, you pitch them, you have an agent, and it doesn't sometimes go.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks. I was lucky to get 2 made. I mean, it was a miracle almost.
Hi, I was just reading online that you were friends with Vincent Price while he was still alive. Do you have like any favorite moment of just a very Vincent Price type moment with him, or?
Yeah, oh my God, he was so funny. He was the funniest. I always told him, you're in the wrong business. You should have been a comedian. Really, he was one of the funniest damn guys I've ever known, and adorable, so sweet. I was scared of his wife, Coral Brown. She was always like lurking around and didn't want you to get close to him. But he and I wrote a few letters back and forth, one of which I heard is in the Smithsonian in Washington, a note that I sent him about his condition that he had at the end. I was sending him some advice about, try this, try that, when, way before he passed away, but he had become ill. What's like a funny thing with him? I mean, he was awesome. We did a lot of shows together. We did an old show, a talk show called the Tom Snyder Show. Me, him, and Stephen King. It was awesome. We did the Tonight Show twice. I think once with Johnny Carson, and once I think with Joan Rivers. And I said, oh Vincent, I used to love you in all those Poe movies, and he said, oh yeah, they were Poe, all right, they were some Poe movies.
I remember seeing that one.
He was so adorable. But he also taught me how to make fish in my dishwasher. You put a piece of fish in aluminum foil, you season it and everything, and then you put it in with your dirty dishes, and all closed up tight, and then you put the wash cycle on, and when you're done, your fish is done. And you have clean dishes to eat it on.
Let's give it a try.
So yeah, Vinny taught me that. But he was always great. We always had fun together, just a blast. He appeared on my show, Movie Macabre, and it was like a miracle. That was the first time I met him, and I was like, Vince, surprise was coming. I was losing it. I couldn't believe it. And he was such a doll. Wow. So anyway, lots of stories about him, but he was wonderful.
All right, so we've got just a couple more. Thank you so much.
Hi. So I just wanted to say thank you. First of all, my sister is up in the front, and we grew up watching Mistress of the Dark all the time. And we actually had like a little dress that we used to stuff and dance around and pretend. We didn't have a wig,
if that's good or bad.
No. But aside from introducing us to a strong female character, you kind of made horror more accessible for us because it was fun, and we're both still kind of obsessed with horror movies. So I wanted to ask you if there's anything that actually ever freaked you out. What is Elvira afraid of?
You mean like a movie or like
just anything that you've done, or like a movie that really just got in your head?
It's pretty crazy. People always ask me, what are you scared of? And honest to God, I can't think of anything
good.
Really that much. Maybe doing this panel, but no. but yeah, I gotta say, I don't like a lot of slasher films. There are certain types. I mean, I don't mind gore, and
right.
Like All About Evil is about as gross and gory as you can get, but it still has a slight sense of humor, and I like films that can kind of soften it up with a little humor, I just don't like the straight, hardcore slasher movies, and I don't get really scared of them. I get bored of them, and I get kind of PO'd about them too. Especially when there's hapless kind of female victims,
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't get scared that much, I guess.
That's good.
That's why I was in improv.
Going back.
You can't get scared of anything if you do improv.
Going back to the Full Moon, it was Charles Band.
Charles Band, thank you. Good Lord, I can't not believe I did that. I did a series with Charles Band earlier.
Terry,
Yeah, oh God. Anyway, he was the one who got the films for me for 13.
Watch your head.
Yeah, Shrunken Heads. My God, that's.
And I'm a huge Danny Elfman fan. That was his brother's movie.
But anyway, I hope I answered that. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for answering.
You don't like your sister? Is that what's happening?
No.
Start sitting together.
All right.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, good.
My question for you is, with the given that we're at Comic-Con, is there any Marvel or DC project you wanted to be a part of?
Well, I did do a Marvel comic book. I did of my movie, of my film. It was like the Elvira, Mistress of the Dark comic book. So I did that Marvel one, and then I did a DC House of Mystery series that was short-lived. But yeah, I'd like to do something for either one of them all the time. I'm always talking to Stan Lee about it, And unfortunately, comic books are kind of, I love comic books, and I grew up. It's so funny you're wearing a Superman logo. When I was a kid, I was so into Superman comic books, and geeks hadn't been invented yet, but I was one. I was the first one, I think. And other girls could not believe that I was like so into Superman.
That's awesome.
I tied a cape to me around my. I was, anyway, but Superman was what I was just seriously into comic books when I was a kid. And that, for girls, that wasn't a big thing. It really wasn't kind of a thing. So now it is. But comic books are tough to get into now. There's a small audiences, and as much as I love them, it's not really a great money-making proposition in general. And even Stan has said to me, just skip the comic books and go right to the internet. It's sad, but you get a bigger audience. It is super sad, but
Great question.
I'm kind of old school.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Young lady.
So, you said that you had a lot of projects that didn't get funded or didn't kind of jumpstart. Would you ever think to use a
crowdfunding?
Yeah,
Yes.
Kickstarter or something like that.
Yeah, I definitely have thought about considering that. Right now, I'm actually getting ready to do a crowdfunding thing, and there's only one amount of money you can give. It's $5, and I figure if every one of my fans gave $5, I'd get enough. But it's to get a star on Hollywood Boulevard. Strangely, a star on Hollywood Boulevard costs $30,000.
Oh my God.
And if you, and when people get stars on Hollywood Boulevard, it's when they're doing a film and the studio funds it. I don't have a studio to fund it, so I thought maybe I'll do a crowdfunding thing.
Great
So
idea.
I heard there's some empty spaces now that Bill Cosby.
Did you ever go out for a drink? Did you ever go out for a
No.
Oh, no.
I did used to see Bill at the Playboy Mansion back in the 70s when I was a Playboy model. He was pretty busy there all the time. Yeah. But I figured, they were talking about taking the star away, but I'm going, if they take Bill Cosby's star away for that, it's going to be a slippery slope. Pretty soon, every damn guy you can think of is going to be, their star is going to be taken away. I mean, think about the Woody Allens, the Roman Polanskis, and on. And going back to Fatty Arbuckle, who was the first star in Hollywood, they'd have to take his away too.
Notorious.
So, yeah, I think anyway, I don't think there will be an empty space there.
That was a great question.
Thank you. That was an excellent question.
So we have
So
one
get your
more.
$5 ready, everybody.
That's it. Get those $5 bills ready. Okay, so one more question. Our last question here.
Okay. So yeah, I grew up also watching Elvira Mistress of the Dark as well with my sister and my mom. That was one of our favorite movies. So my question is regarding, I guess, influences on creating a character. A couple years ago, I saw a play called Rapture, Blister, Burn. Rapture, Blister, Burn. Rapture, Blister, Burn. Wow. And all of the characters are pretty much female. And it presented a lot of ideas on feminism. And one of my favorite parts was at the very end where they indicate that slasher movies gave rise to a new female archetype, the woman who wins and survives in the end by fighting for herself. So I was wondering, what other influences there were in creating your Elvira character, if there were any feminism ideas in there as well.
Yeah. Oh, good question. Oh gosh, I hope I can answer that kind of quickly. My influences, I don't know exactly what did influence me. It was wacky. I don't know. It just, like I said, I think it was just me being a tough ass when I was a kid. But one thing, I did make rules on both my films, Mistress of the Dark and then later Haunted Hills, that Elvira doesn't get saved by a guy. That was a hard line rule. I wouldn't allow them to have a braver God come in and save my other guy. Thank you. Yeah, it's like, I wanted to do it myself, even as, fumbling as Elvira is. I wanted to, get myself in trouble, I would get myself out of trouble. I didn't need anybody to come along and rescue me. So that was kind of a line I drew in the sand. But yeah, I mean, strong women heroes, when I was young, there weren't many. I hate to say it, I mean, believe it or not, one of my favorite people in the world who I read autobiographies and loved, and now this is going to make me seem like freaking ancient, was Eleanor Roosevelt. There were I mean, I'm sure there were other strong women out there who, you know, did things for themselves and didn't have any help, but they were kind of few and far between. And I'm sure they were out there, but you didn't hear about them much, you know. So in the film world and in movies, there weren't really any women who were real, you know, tough back then, or who were kind of, you know, what we call feminists now. So I don't know, that just developed. I did get into feminism at a really early age, just reading Fear of Flying by Erica Jong, and, you know, being very into the whole idea and concept of feminism. I still count myself as a super staunch feminist, and I don't know, that's basically it. Just kind of happened. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Well, let's see. It's about 5. Oh, it's 5 to 12. Haha, that's LA time. Yeah, that'd be great.
Hey, can we have one more question over there?
Okay. Well, real quick
How many
one.
dresses do you hold?
How many dresses? Yes. I own about a dozen, and I have shorter ones, longer ones, sparkly ones, beaded ones.
You thought it was a stupid question, but...
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I have a whole closet full of all different, just a little bit of different take on the dress, and about 3 or 4 that are just look the same. That, you know, when one is in the laundry, I got another one to go. I have old ones that I've given away to Wax Museum. There's one in the Hollywood Museum, and believe it or not, somebody just found one on eBay. It was my first dress, and they gave it back to me, which was a miracle. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, they found it, and I knew it was my first one because I can just tell.
Now to get that dagger back.
Yeah, I had my dagger stolen on an airline. As soon as they started making 9/11 came along, I had to put my dagger in my suitcase. We got to the place and it was gone. And that is super expensive dagger back then. But now I have new ones. I even have ones coming out soon, replicas that are going to be for sale, like really, really nice, well-made replicas of the dagger. So always handy to have a dagger.
Okay. Well, I want to one little announcement. Okay, so Cassandra is going to take a little break, and then at 3:30, back at the celebrity photo booth, she's going to be doing her last of her signing. Okay, so if you have not had a chance to get an autograph,